Hello, I'm Seamus Donahue of EVE University, and this is the 6th and final episode of How to Survive EVE Online as refilmed for the Crius release, August 2014. For reference, I believe it's been approximately 24 hours since I filmed episode 5, so I've trained a whole bunch of skills in the meantime: mining, electronics upgrades, afterburner, capacitor management, capacitor systems operation, industry, and trade. So first of all, let's do some skill. Let me clean up my item hanger first. Right-click, stack all. And let me look for skills, which are usually at the bottom. Can I train advanced industry? Yes, let me inject that. Can I train mass production? Yes, let me inject that. Can I train hacking? Yes. Might as well train that now to level 1. Survey, mining frigate I already have. Retail I can inject right now. Okay. Double check my skill training queue. It looks good. I suppose I can throw in mass production in there. Let's see, what will I actually make use of? I'm probably going to use this character to run the Bloodstained Stars, so I know there's going to be at least one use of a relic analyzer in there somewhere, so let me throw in another level of archaeology. I don't remember if they have me use a data analyzer as well. I'll throw in hacking. Let's see, propulsion jamming. Hull upgrades grants a 5% bonus to armor hit points per skill level. Can't hurt. And gunnery. You know what? I never really made use of the skills that the agent gave me here. So let's train some levels of that. And weapon upgrades will reduce the CPU requirement of my weapons, whether they're turrets or missile launchers. Alright, good enough. I'm going to click apply and close. I have 151,000 skill points, which is well covered by my clone grade alpha. I am not at war with anybody. I would be shocked if I were, because this is an NPC corporation. And do I have mail? As a matter of fact, Crowd Control Productions has, over the past year or two, taken it upon themselves to send an introductory mail manually to every new player, eventually. So this will direct you to additional places where you can get help to learn how to play the game. Let's see. Alright, so let's get started on the advanced military chain. Clear the area of any hostile vessels. Pretty straightforward. Click accept, close. Let me double check my fittings. Oh, right. After I stopped filming the last episode, I decided to keep salvaging all of the wrecks, all of the ones that I bookmarked. And let me right-click and open the cargo. I shoved it all into my rookie ship just to keep it separate, but I got basically 1,000,000 interstellar credits worth of salvage. Which, given that I only have 2.6 million interstellar credits right now, if I decide to sell all this stuff on the market, could be quite useful. But let me drag all this out of the way for now. I don't want to do salvaging with a ship. I need to kill things. Let's see, where did I put my lasers? Here we go. Alright, good enough. And is there anything else I want to make use of right now? Let me check the market real quick, see if they have any EM hardeners. Because earlier I mentioned resistances, so if I can increase the resistance of my armor layer, I can take less damage, which would be a good thing. So let me see, armor repairers. I'm probably going to take EM damage since we're talking about Blood Raiders here. Alright, there's one available here for a rather high price. I suppose that's another thing I should have gotten in Amar. Alright, it's not enough damage that I'm going to worry about resistances right now, but in the long term you will want to think about this. But for now, this should be good enough for tutorial missions. So I'm going to close this and let's undock. And warp to location.
Active.
Activate the gate.
Warp drive active.
Alright, let's get closer to this target. As usual, if you want to go mining, you can do so. It's just Veldspar. But if you like having your own private asteroids, make sure you do your mining before you turn in the mission. And there is that graphical glitch again. Alright. Alright. Done with that. Let's return to station.
Warp drive
And you know what?
active.
While I'm at this, a whole bunch of my old bookmarks that I previously salvaged are only useful as safe spots now. So, let me take care of that.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Talk to the agent, turn in the mission, and actually come to think of it, there was another skill I wanted you to get. High-speed maneuvering. We've talked a little bit about afterburners. There's a more advanced type called a micro warp drive. So, right now I have the prerequisites. Afterburner level 3, I trained that up. So let me train that now to level 1. That won't take very long. Just 41 minutes. Good enough. Let me request the next mission. Angel of Mercy. Our agent wants us to take an expendable ship, fly it into a structure, and get it blown up. So let's click accept. And this one doesn't need to be particularly fancy. Let's right-click this new executioner, assemble the ship, right-click it again. Let's change the name Kaboom. Always make sure you understand the mission that you're going on. I'm going to get in the ship Kaboom. Verify that it has nothing in it. And we know this thing is going to explode, so we're going to ensure it. So there's Kaboom. We right-click, we click Ensure. It'll state the insurance terms. You can read that on your own. And insure it for platinum. And let's close that, and let's undock. There are not going to be any fittings on this ship. We don't need any for this.
Warp drive active.
Let's activate the gate.
Warp drive active.
I like to show empty module slots. I like to show passive modules, just as a reminder to myself of what I have fit to my ship. Or, in this case, what I do not have fit to my ship. We're going to approach that Blood Raider battle station. Now, again, normally colliding with things does not in and of itself cause damage, unless it is explicitly scripted to do that. Let me right-click something in here. Save location, Rex. There we go. Alright, time to get out of here.
Warp drive active.
So yeah, just bumping into things does not normally cause damage or blow up your ship unless it is explicitly scripted for that. This was explicitly scripted for it. Normally, bumping into things will slow you down, but that's about it. So yeah, my ship was destroyed and my capsule ejected, and I warped my capsule out of that area. And I was kind of in a hurry, so I didn't warp to my cuddle
Docking
bookmark as
permission
usual.
requested.
So now I have to slow boat to the
Docking
station.
request accepted.
Angel of Mercy, 2 of 10. Let's complete the mission. Request the next mission. And the agent wants us to use a civilian warp disruptor on a particular target. Kill any escort vessels that you see, but not the primary target. So let's scroll down the item hanger all the way to the bottom. Let's click accept, and we're given a civilian warp disruptor. Let's open this up. Let's tack that on. It takes up a bid slot. Get rid of this, and undock. Now, with the Cuddle bookmark, I've demonstrated the value of using a bookmark to get quickly into a station. Otherwise, you have to slow boat the rest of the distance. That bookmark I previously saved in an earlier episode as down from station. Let me warp to it.
Warp drive active.
Now, in most of the other warps that I've done, it takes me several seconds to turn my ship around in order to get it to warp to wherever it's going. In order for your ship to be aligned to warp, your ship has to align to warp before it can enter warp. In order for your ship to be aligned, you must be moving towards your destination within a few degrees. Within about 8 degrees, I think. And you must be going at least 75% of maximum speed, whatever your maximum speed happens to be at the moment. So if you've increased your maximum speed because of an Afterburner or micro warp drive, then the speed you need to reach to go to warp goes up with it. It's always 75% of your maximum of the moment. When you leave a station... Hold on, let's actually focus on what we're doing. So there's the fleeing pirate. I'm going to get closer to him. And he's within range, 20 kilometers. Hey, alright, please don't shoot me, I'll leave, just let me go. Alright, let's go back to the Cuddle bookmark.
Warp drive active.
And... So yeah, in order to go to warp, your ship must already be moving towards the destination at sublight speed, within about 8 degrees, and going at least 75% of maximum velocity. When you're departing from a station, you're moving at full speed in some direction, usually a reasonably consistent direction. So you can plop down a bookmark in front of the station undock, in front of the station spawn point that's far enough away, and when you undock from the station, you can warp to it. And you immediately warp away from the station and away from anybody who might have been trying to shoot at you. Now, that bookmark that I named down from station was kind of close, but not close enough to be an instant undock bookmark. Once I train up micro warp drives, I'll demonstrate how to set up an instant undock bookmark, but let's request the next mission for now. A friend in need. Find the missing agent and repair his vessel. Scroll down the item hanger. Let's accept. The agent gives us a civilian small remote armor repair. Let's put...
Insufficient power. Insufficient power.
Okay. Don't need this. Let me unload the weapons, clear the group, and offline something. It's not the lasers that I need. Let's close and undock. I don't want to shoot this next target, I want to repair it. Big difference. So let's warp to the mission.
Warp drive active.
And notice how this takes me a while to go into warp, because I have to bring my ship into the correct direction. Alright, so remote repair modules will spend your capacitor energy to repair somebody else's armor or shields, or structure, depending upon the type of module that it is. Now here we have the damaged vessel. We need to get a little bit closer. We need to get within 4 kilometers. So I'm going to turn on and off the afterburner. I only need 1 pulse. Control spacebar. And I will repair him. Now the flavor text says that his warp drive was offline. In actuality, the warp drive has nothing to do with the armor or the structure. A player ship will always have a functioning warp drive regardless of the shield, armor, or structure levels. All that matters is, are you in the middle of a warp interdiction bubble? Are you being smacked with a warp disruptor? Are you being smacked with a warp scrambler? Are you being smacked with a heavy interdictor's special warp disruption module? That's all that really matters.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
But still, being able to repair somebody else's armor, shields, or structure can be very useful, especially in combat situations. If you've got an entire fleet of people, each of whom's carrying 1 remote armor repairer, all remote armor repairing the 1 guy who's getting shot at, that can keep him up through a lot of damage. Let's complete the mission and request the next mission. And here's another suicide mission. The agent is going to give us a Punisher, wants us to destroy at least 1 hostile, and go down fighting against the reinforcements that show up. So let's click accept and close. Let me get rid of this. I believe I mentioned the medical services on a previous episode. So let's assemble the ship. Let's also name it Kaboom, just so that we know which one we're insuring. And we need weapons for this. You know what? Fine, we shall use the dual light beam lasers. And just for the sake of keeping this cheap fit, I'm not going to bother with anything else. Yeah, should be good enough. Let's open the insurance window, find Kaboom, insure, platinum. Oh, by the way, if you check out your wallet, look at your journals, My Wallet tab, the journal sub-tab, let's click load. The insurance, we paid $15,000 in insurance for the previous ship, and we got $51,000 back. So if you know you're going to lose your ship in the next 3 months, it's good to insure it. Let's undock. Right-click. The stand. Encounter dead space, warp to location.
Warp drive active.
Now, when your ship explodes, it leaves behind a wreck. Some of the modules and cargo will survive. Each piece of cargo, each stack of cargo, each module, each stack of ammunition in a module has a 50-50% chance to survive or die. The rigs will never survive. In the current version of EVE Online, anything in a ship maintenance bay will not survive. The ship itself, obviously, will not survive. So it's just everything else. Modules, ammunition, cargo. Let me add my own location, Rex. And close this, because I'm going to want to come back here later, after the fighting is over. Alright. Elite Federation arcs. Anyway, I'm being heavily webified. I can try to shoot them from here. I can't move very fast, and now they're doing something else called sensor dampening. So a bunch of them are sensor dampening me, so I can only target lock out to 2.4 kilometers. I'm also being webified, so I can't get that close. And let's get ready to click warp, and let's warp. Click, 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 click. Yeah, get the hell out of there. Don't need to tell me twice. Non-player characters will never attempt to destroy your pod. I have never seen that happen in EVE Online. However, other players are not under the same restriction. So NPCs and players will both destroy your ship. Only players might attempt to destroy your pod, and whether or not another player attempts to destroy your pod is entirely up to them.
Docking permission requested.
They
Docking
might
request
offer you a
accepted.
ransom to let your pod escape alive. Sometimes they will honor this ransom, and sometimes they will just take your money and kill you anyway. Alright, let's talk to the agent. Let's complete the mission. Request the next mission. Use your Afterburner to travel quickly through the electromagnetic disturbance to the asteroid colony. And he will give us a civilian Afterburner, which we really do not need anymore, because we have the real thing. The agent also gives us small energy turret as a reward, which honestly I don't understand, because Amarian characters start off with small energy turret. Maybe this is for people who created their character as a different race and decided to switch to Amarian and run the Amarian tutorials. Meh. But anyway. Stack all, load the multi-frequencies. Alright, I'm ready to go. Oh, actually... yeah, let's go. I'm not going to actually shoot anything. I just reloaded the weapons as a matter of habit. But this is another mission where I'm not shooting anything. So, let's warp to the mission.
Warp drive active. Warp drive active.
Oh, right. I need to approach the asteroid station. Let's turn on the Afterburner. Now, if you don't use an Afterburner or a micro warp drive, your ship probably will not survive the attempt. Most likely. But with an Afterburner, you go much faster. You know what? This is useful as a safe spot. And let's warp to the Cuddle bookmark. Hold down D, click the station, let go of D.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Alright, that's done. Let's complete the mission. And request the next mission. Weapon of choice. Use your civilian Gatling laser to destroy the pirate. You have to imagine me rolling my eyes here. You have better weapons than a civilian Gatling pulse laser at this point. Any weapon will suffice, really. Let's click accept. The only exception here is if you're running the Galente tutorial arc. At this point, the agent will have already given you a drone skill book, and drones are quite useful. While you're flying around in your frigate, you're probably only going to be running missions against frigate-sized targets for the most part, with the occasional destroyer or cruiser. When you're running level 4 missions in your battleship, and you're using battleship-sized weapons against the battleship-sized targets, that will be just fine, but battleship-sized weapons have a really hard time hitting frigate-sized targets. Enter the drone bay. Some ships have a drone bay, some do not. But most of the larger ships, battlecruisers and battleships, will have a drone bay. And you can use light drones to fight frigate-sized targets. So if you're running the Galente arc, you'll be using a drone here. A civilian hobgoblin. For our own part, though, we're just using lasers, so... So if you're playing any character other than a Galente character, that is, if you're flying Amar, Caldari, or Minmatar, take a moment to get the drone skill. Buy a copy of that. Most likely, and for all races, even Galente, you probably need light drone operation. Hold on, let me dock up. Yeah, there we go. Get light drone operation as well. I'm going to inject that, but I'm not going to start training that up right now. I want to get high-speed maneuvering done. Let's talk to the agent. Complete the mission. Request the next mission. We need to rescue some hostages. We will not be doing any shooting. Kind of important, so let's unload the lasers. Let's accept. And some of the extra text in the advanced military chain is worth reading for your own edification. I'm not going to waste your time. But this mission is supposed to convey the concept of you're not necessarily always shooting stuff. By the way, that yellow bar that you saw in my overview was indicating that there was a player with a suspect flag. That means he committed some sort of suspect offense. Most likely, he stole from somebody's jettisoned canister in space. I could legally shoot at him without Concord intervention, but then that would start what's called a limited engagement, and he could come back in any ship in the next 15 minutes and come shoot at me. From my point of view, that would not be good. Alright, there's text for your orders here. Basically, what the mission is telling you is don't do anything until told. I'm sorry, jump through the acceleration gate, sit there, don't do anything else until you're told, and when you're given the go order, head to the prison facility and loot the hostages out of it. So we're going to twiddle our thumbs. I know I'm going to start moving quickly at some point, so I'm going to start my Afterburner. So my Afterburner is consuming capacitor energy, even though I'm not moving. Which is fine. I've got capacitor energy to spare. Go, 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 go. We're going to open the cargo. Yeah, a real Afterburner is very good. Alright. Loot all. Align to the station. And let me get my cuddle bookmark. Alright.
Docking station requested. Docking request accepted.
Talk to the agent. Complete the mission. Request the next mission. Here, we are going to use a civilian stasis webifier on a target. And the agent will give us the Amar Destroyer skill book as a reward. Did we train up the prerequisites? Yes, we did. Amar Frigate level 3. So let's click accept. And click close. Now, I think I can use a real stasis webifier instead if I wanted to. I believe that'll work. Let's try it. My hypothesis is I don't have to use the civilian version. I could use a real stasis webifier and it will flag the mission as complete just as well. So let's abort to location.
Warp drive active.
Alright. I'm gonna get closer to that pirate. I need to be within 10 kilometers. Alright, I'm standing down. Just let me go. Alright. Alright, we are done with that. Let's warp back to the station. And Concord fries him. It's unusual for Concord to make an appearance in missions for reasons other than another player scanned you down with combat probes, warped to your mission, and fired at your ship unprovoked.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Talk to the agent, complete the mission, and let's request the next mission. And this is the final step of the advanced military chain, the exam. So we need to kill the terrorist leader inside the pleasure hub. He will use a stasis webifier. He will use a warp disruptor. So you do have to give some thought to how you want to do this. Now, for my own part, I've been using beam lasers, so I'm going to try and keep my distance to some degree. Let's see. I can inject the Amar Destroyer skill, but it would take me... Let's see. It would take me at least 16 minutes to train that up. I don't think I actually need a destroyer for this. He also gave us rapid firing. Where did that go? Oh no, rapid firing is going to be reward. Alright, so let's close this. And we will be shooting, so let's reload the guns. Now, I can run everything capacitor stable. My Afterburner, my lasers, my Stasis webifier. I do not have an armor repairer. Let me fix that problem.
Insufficient power.
Alright, I need to rethink how I'm going to do this then. Because how short on power grid am I? I'm short by about 1.25 megawatts. Alright. The small focus afocal lasers that I'm using require 12 megawatts each. Are there lasers that I can use that use less power grid? I have the Gatling pulse lasers. Those use less power grid. Let me see if there are beam... Let me get rid of this thing. It's in my way. Turrets and bays, pulse lasers. The small focused pulse lasers use slightly less power grid, and that may just make the difference. Do we have any here in station? Yes. What about other variants thereof? Some of them are present, but at elevated prices. Alright, the basic version... the small focus focal pulses will work just fine. I'll grab 3 of those. Let's yank these off, clear the group. I am changing to a short-range fit. No, these are just the same lasers over again. Give me a moment. Pulse. That will help me find the correct ones this time. There we go, and that fits within my power grid. Excellent. Alright. Stack everything. Now, I'm not cap stable with everything running. Let me see if it makes a difference if I pull off the overdrive injector. Almost. I'm almost cap stable. 4 minutes, 51 seconds from full to empty. Good enough. Alright, so I'm going to fight this guy at short range. 2.5 kilometers or less. That is well within his warp disruptor and stasis webifier range. So I am taking a bit of a risk, but I am putting out more damage in exchange for that. Plus, I'll be able to hit him at higher angular velocities. So, let's warp to the location.
Warp drive active.
Actually, what angular velocity do I need to keep him under? Tracking speed. Alright. 246 milliradians per second. Or, as it's written here, 0.246. And that's for a target 40 meters in signature radius. Ah, there we go. I'm going to hit the Afterburner. Get real close, real fast. A significant amount of damage, I believe, will come from his mercenary trainees. So I'm going to orbit this first trainee at close range, and I'm going to webify him. And I'm close enough to start shooting. Now, right now, only my shields are taking damage. I've got an armor repairer, but that's not going to help the shields. So for an armor tank ship, the shields are a throwaway layer. Alright. Time to chase down the other mercenary trainee. Let me save the location of the wreck. And here, these icons tell me the terrorist leader is webifying me, reducing my sublight velocity. He's also warp disrupting me. So because I'm being warp disrupted, I cannot warp away, I cannot escape. Hold on, let me finish killing this mercenary trainee. And turn on my armor repair. So if I try to warp back to the station, external factors are preventing your warp drive from responding to this command. So as long as he's warp disrupting me, I cannot escape. But escape is not my plan. Now the terrorist leader is using turrets of some kind, not missiles. So I can orbit this guy at close range. He's webifying me, but I'm also webifying him, so, I'm still going faster than him, so I can dictate the range. I suspect his turrets are missing a lot, because I'm orbiting him too quickly. I'm going around him at about 180 milliradians per second. I can hit him, half the time at 240 milliradians per second. So I'm hitting him just fine, but his turrets are having a problem hitting me. Additionally, I can run my armor repairer all the time, so whatever damage he's doing to me is apparently not enough to overcome my armor repair capabilities. Well, I can almost run my armor repair all the time. Bingo, there we go. And the mission is complete. Let's go back to station.
Warp drive active.
So yeah, to deal with warp disruptors, you can kill whoever is warp disrupting you. Then you can warp out whenever you want. Additionally, warp disruptors have a limited range. If you can somehow get out of range of the warp disruptor will drop off. and you can warp wherever you want.
Docking permission requested.
The only
Docking
tactic I
request
didn't
accepted.
cover here is fighting aligned. Granted, being aligned to a destination doesn't help if you're already being warp disrupted, but if you think somebody is about to warp disrupt you or is about to destroy your ship, if you're already aligned to a planet or something, or if you're aligned to a station, you can click the warp button and you don't have to wait any additional time to go into warp. So we are done with the mission. Rapid firing, inject skill. I will probably demonstrate fighting aligned in some of the missions in the Sisters of Eve Level 1 Epic Arc, The Bloodstained Stars. I'll probably start filming that after I finish putting this series up on YouTube. But anyway, that completes the tutorial missions. As I've alluded to, for most people, for most new players, the next step will be to run the Level 1 Sisters of Eve Epic Arc, which starts in the Arnon solar system. So you would open up the star map, search for Alpha Romeo November Oscar November, press return. Let's show info on that. Go to the Orbital Bodies tab, and we are looking for... Oh, I'm sorry, go to the Stations tab. There's Arnon 9 Moon 3 Sisters of Eve Bureau. Right-click, set destination. Right. You probably started off with your autopilot set to prefer safer by default. This early on in playing EVE Online, I recommend you leave that alone. Stick to high security space until you know what you're doing. Or if you have a friend that you trust, guiding you through the game. You can select prefer shorter, depending upon which school you started off in. This might take you through low security space. Obviously, that's not the case if you're starting off in Deepari, but it might be the shortest route from the other two Amarian schools might take you through low security, and I don't advise that. So leave this on prefer safer. But once you're docked up in Arnon, you can start the Sisters of Eve Epic Arc. You will have been given a couple of sigils by the tutorial agents. A sigil, or whatever racial industrial you were given. An industrial ship is a ship with a large carrying capacity. 2,100 cubic meters in the case of the sigil, which is a little bit on the low end as industrials go. Your frigate can only hold 1 to 300 cubic meters at most, so you can't carry a whole lot of cargo. You wouldn't want to carry a whole lot of cargo anyway, because if you're carrying a lot of expensive stuff in your ship, somebody can suicide gank your ship. They can blow you up before Concord shows up to kill them in return, and then the accomplice who never fired a shot loots all half of the expensive stuff in your ship, because that's the half that survived in the wreckage. Sell it and share the proceeds with whoever shot you. There are other... One of the CCP employees has been quoted as saying, "Eve was not designed to look like a cold, harsh, and dark universe. It was designed to be a cold, harsh, and dark universe." Besides player corporations and alliances declaring war on each other, besides suicide ganking, there are other things that can happen. Trust is a valuable commodity. Once you're in a player corporation, shooting other members of your player corporation is a Concord-sanctioned activity. Your fellow corp mates can destroy your ship and pod kill you without any consequences from Concord. Whether or not the corp leadership approves or disapproves of this depends upon the attitudes of those other people sitting behind their keyboards on the other side of the internet. Some players can scam you in a number of ways. You can buy and sell things through a process called contracts, but you have to read the contract carefully. One scam is, I want to buy from you a Pilot Slices extension for 500 million ISK. And what you don't realize because you didn't read the contract correctly is that you're giving him a Plex and 500 million ISK, and he's only giving you a Plex. The net result being that you've given him 500 million interstellar credits for a net worth of nothing. There are scams on the market involving margin trading. Basically, for scams, I have a separate video on that, so I will direct you to that. But basically, trust is a valuable commodity.
Skill training completed.
Ah, excellent. High-speed maneuvering is complete. So besides the level 1 Sisters of Eve Epic Arc, there are a variety of activities that you can engage in. The market is very robust. Players are buying and selling things on the market all the time. Players make things through the industrial process. We've only touched the tip of the iceberg regarding manufacturing and mining. There are other forms of resource gathering. If you go into exploration and you search down actual honest-to-goodness data and relic sites that aren't training sites, those contain materials that are used in various industrial processes, which then make ships, modules, or whatever that players then get blown up in player versus player battles. So you could go into mining, you could go into large-scale industry, you could just play the market. You could be setting up buy orders, buying stuff at a low price from people who just want to unload whatever they've discovered really quickly and get back out to whatever activities they were doing, and then set up your own sell orders to sell that stuff at a higher price to people who just need to buy something that they need right away. Whoever puts up the buy or the sell order dictates the price of the transaction, but whoever actually interacts with that order dictates when or if the transaction takes place. Not everybody has the time to wait for a buy order or a sell order to clear. The people who are getting loot off of NPCs, they just want to sell the junk right away and get right back out to mission running or whatever else it is that they're doing. The people who need replacement equipment because they need to fit out new ships because they were just involved in a PvP battle, or maybe they fell for a trap and their ship got blown up while they were mission running. They just want to buy new stuff so they can put together a new ship and get back to whatever it is that they were doing. So you, as someone who plays the market, are the guy in the middle on this. The market is where you're spending your time. You're the one who has the time to set up the buy and the sell orders so you can buy low and sell high. So playing the market is another thing you could be doing. There's a wide variety of things that you could be that you can do in EVE Online. I happen to have a link for a chart for this purpose. swiftandbitter.com/eve/WTD for what to do. Minor pieces here and there might be out of date, but most of this should still be correct. Whatever you do, EVE Online tends to be more interesting with friends than solo, although solo play is also possible. You should try to join a group of like-minded players. If you're not sure of who to join, I tend to be biased. I like EVE University. It's the corporation that I have been with since I started in the game, and now I teach classes at EVE University, as these videos will attest to. If EVE University is part of the Ivy League Alliance, if at the time that you're watching this, Ivy League, click search, just Ivy League. If at the time that you're watching this, Ivy League is at peace, then I strongly recommend EVE University. At the time of recording, EVE University has been at war since March and is expected to remain at war for quite some time. If you're interested in learning how to PvP, I still recommend EVE University. We do have a variety of campuses, some of them PvP oriented. So in particular, you can learn how to do player versus player activities in the low security campus, null security campus, the wormhole campus, or you could just simply join EVE University to learn how to carry out high security activities while under the threat of a war declaration, where certain individuals might have the legal right to show up at any time and try to blow up your ship. So if that interests you, then I still recommend EVE University. Besides EVE University, other options are Red versus Blue, Brave Movies Incorporated, and I believe Agony Unleashed also teaches PvP classes to the public from time to time. But whatever route you choose, you definitely want to join up with some group of players. If it's a friend that talked you into joining EVE Online, then hopefully you can't go too far wrong by going off and joining your friend at this time. Let's see. Oh, you know what? If you're going to join EVE University, I should probably point you to the application page. You know what? Let me try looking that up from the main page. Applying to EVE University. Alright, so you can visit this URL for instructions on how to apply to EVE University. Some of these steps will require that you actually use the in-game browser, so that's going to be under EVE menu, Accessories, Browser. And you can visit the EVE University homepage using the in-game browser. Before I end the episode, I promise to demonstrate to you instant undock bookmarks, micro warp drives. Yes, we have some in station. Let me get one of these. And let me yank off the Afterburner and these three things. I want the overdrive injectors and the micro warp drive. It says I'm not cap stable, but that's fine. All I'm running is the micro warp drive. So for any station that you make use of on a regular basis, I recommend that you create a cuddle bookmark. I already showed you how to do that. And when you undock from the station, fly straight out from the undock and run a micro warp drive. And you want to wait until you're at least 150 kilometers away from the station. All right. You cannot warp to a target that is closer to you than 150 kilometers. You can't warp to 0 on a target that's less than 150 kilometers from you at any rate. There are nuances that I won't get into, but this bookmark needs to be at least 150 kilometers away. The reason you would be doing this is to give you a quick option to warp away from the station without spending time turning your ship. This is particularly useful if you're flying outside of high security space, or if you are under a war declaration. If you undock and you're surrounded by hostiles, you can go to warp to your instant undock bookmark, and then once you've dropped out of warp at your bookmark, you can then warp to wherever it is that you're going. You would have to be quick about it, however. Whoever's trying to camp you in at the station might have combat probes, and they might try to scan you down. So having an instant undock bookmark will only slow them down by about, 10 seconds or so. So you got to be quick about turning to get into warp again to wherever it is that you're really going. So just as a demonstration of how an instant undock bookmark works, this is in my opinion, 300 kilometers is still way too close to the station, but it's good enough for a demonstration. So I right-click, cuddle, warp to within 0 meters.
Active. Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Alright, so I'm going to undock and actually use my bookmark. I'm going to undock. So I ran into the session change timer there. After docking, I can't undock again for 10 seconds. That's a session change timer. So I right-click, undock, warp to location.
Warp drive active.
And at least it took less than a second to align, and now I can go warp off to something else, like the Stargate.
Warp drive.
Ideally, you want this bookmark to be far enough away that you cannot see the traffic around the station. But anyway, the various practices that I've taught you in this series are just the tip of the iceberg. This is not by any means a comprehensive instruction on EVE Online. It's nowhere even close. So you will want to take the time to learn more about game mechanics, how the game functions, how players within the game behave, so on and so forth. Even if you don't join EVE University, EVE University lectures and classes are generally open to the public. If you're not in the actual corporation, you cannot participate in the practical exercises, but you can still listen in on the lectures. You can also make use of wiki.eveuniversity.org. It is an information resource that we make available to everyone.
Docking permission
These
requested.
videos
Docking
included.
request accepted.
Whatever you do, whatever your choices, fly safe. I am Seamus Dunhu of EVE University, and thank you for watching. Creative Commons, EVE University.